We thought we were ready for our upcoming international vacation to Spain. Insurance, check. Documents, check. Then I asked Santiago, what if something happens to us and our son needs to access our phones or email?
That's when we realized that our family would be completely digitally locked out if something were to happen to us, whether we were in Spain or something happened to us right here at home.
Travel planning exposed gaps in our digital preparedness that we didn't realize existed. Today we're sharing what we learned and the simple steps we took to fix it. Welcome to Thoughtful Planning. I'm Honey.
And I'm Honey's husband, Santiago. We help families plan for life's biggest moments without feeling, overwhelmed.
This is part 3 of our travel planning series, and today we're tackling digital preparedness, something travel planning helped us realize we'd completely overlooked.
So, a quick note, we're not tech experts, nor are we giving you legal advice. This is just something we've learned from our experience in our recent travels. Always check with your specific devices and accounts and consult professionals for legal advice, or if you need some cybersecurity concerns answered, go to the professionals.
So here's today's essential question. If something happened to you and you couldn't help yourself, could your family access the accounts needed to help you, both at home and while traveling?
So we were preparing to go to Spain. Going through our checklist, we had our travel insurance sorted out. Our son knew our itinerary. He actually knew where we were going to park at the airport. Our emergency contacts were done. Insurance information was shared. We thought we were pretty much set.
Right. But then I started thinking about digital access. What if we're both in a hospital abroad and our son needs to access our phones to call additional contacts or check our emails for important communications? And I realized he'd be completely locked out digitally.
So we prepared him with all the key information we could think about. But if he were actually needed to access our digital accounts to help us out, he wouldn't be able to get in. And that was kind of a wake up call for us.
And honestly, this wasn't just about travel. If something happened to us at home, the same problem would exist. Travel just made us realize the gaps.
Yeah, so Honey tackled her iPhone first. She heard about something called legacy contact. Is that correct?
Yes, I set up Legacy Contact and added our son and daughter. It was really easy to add our kids because they both have iPhones. And I was able to send them the keys. And so when you go to set up the Legacy Contact, you get a key for the person that is your Legacy Contact. And they need that key to be able to help you later. And so if they have an iPhone, those keys could be sent via text and they're encrypted. But for Santiago, since he's Team Android, it was more complicated because I had to write down his very long key and put it in our safe. Here's the thing though. Legacy Contact is designed for when you die, at least it is right now, not when you're incapacitated. There's paperwork involved and a death certificate is required when it comes to the Legacy Contact.
So while it's a good long-term solution if something were to happen to you and you're no longer present, I guess we could say it that way. It doesn't help if you're unconscious in a hospital somewhere and your family needs immediate access to help you out.
Exactly. It's still worth setting up as part of your overall planning, but for immediate emergencies, we needed something else.
So the real game changer was something that Honey had used for a while, a password manager. So we used the password manager's emergency contact feature to help us out.
Right. So I added our son as an emergency contact in our password manager and set it up for 24-hour access. So if something happens, he can request access, and after 24 hours, he gets in. No death certificates, no waiting weeks for paperwork. Of course, you should consult an estate attorney about the proper way to handle this in terms of password permissions.
This was pretty helpful for us because after 24 hours, he'd be able to gain access and help us with the phones or any other important information that the phone may contain, especially for my work, her work, or any other things that he needs to get into.
So 24 hours felt like the right balance for us, long enough to prevent accidental access to the password manager, but short enough to actually help in an emergency. So if it was an accidental request on his part, what happens is I would get a notification that he was trying to access the password manager, and I could deny him access if I was perfectly fine, right? When we returned from our vacation, I could have extended it to 48 hours or longer, but I just left it as it is. Just be sure to read the instructions for emergency access on your password manager so you understand how it works.
So if you don't use a password manager, you really need to consider what access your trusted person or people might need to help you, like an email or phone unlock code. But definitely contact your state attorney to provide proper advice on what's appropriate for your situation and then those pesky state laws you got to deal with.
Right.
I have an Android because I'm just not an Apple dude. But we discovered, iPhone and Android handle things so differently.
Right. We discovered, as of the time of this recording, there is no Android legacy contact feature like on iPhone.
Instead, Android users need to set up Google Inactive Account Manager access. But here's our confession. We didn't do it before we left. We ran out of time and just didn't do it.
Right. That happens. So big mistake. And thankfully, nothing happened to us. The good news is we set it up after we got back. It handles your Gmail, Google Drive, and other Google services. It was actually really easy to set up and really quick.
Yeah. So the lesson is don't wait like we did and hope for the best because hope is never a good option when you're planning.
Right. So here's what we learned. Your family doesn't need access to everything. They need access to what would help them help you.
Yeah. For emergencies, that may include your phone for making calls to contacts not already shared, your email for accessing any important communications or verification codes that come in since we all have that dual verification now on everything, and your password manager if they need access to different accounts. For financial matters, they're likely to need power of attorney if you're incapacitated. Always consult with your estate attorney, CYA, call your attorney about the rules for accessing your accounts.
It's really about giving them access to the tools they need to assist you effectively.
So we also shared a Google Drive folder with important information such as emergency contacts, phone numbers, access information to stuff that he might need, and contact details for our attorney and our financial institutions. The actual documents that we have were printed. We put them in our safe. But this is just basic contact information that's easily accessible without full account numbers, since it's hard to say that everything's completely safe online. Here's what to do this week. And we're trying to keep it very simple.
First, pick one trusted person who could help in a digital emergency and ask them if they would be your backup. If you've been listening to our travel series, this is most likely already done, and we want to make sure the conversation has happened and they know what's expected.
Second, if you have an iPhone, look into that legacy contact. And I say that legacy contact because, I'm an Android dude. So if you have an Android, research Google's Inactive Account Manager. Both are worth understanding for your overall planning.
Third, if you use a password manager, add an emergency contact if that option is available.
Fourth, consult your state attorney about the laws for your state and what's appropriate for your specific situation. And ask about wording that can be added to your legal documents regarding digital access to protect you and your loved ones.
And if you're watching this on YouTube, click that subscribe button so you don't miss another episode.
So, since we're talking about digital preparedness and travel, here's a bonus tip that's not about end-of-life planning. It's just about safe travel security.
Before we left for Spain, I was worried about keeping my phone secure internationally. So here's what I asked our preferred AI tool. I'm traveling internationally with an iPhone. What safety and privacy settings should I check before I leave? Please provide a checklist with instructions.
So Honey used the AI's helpful suggestions to set up her phone, and she found the recommendations useful for protecting her device while traveling.
This isn't about family access. It's about protecting your device while traveling, and it's another layer of digital preparedness that's worth considering.
So we've included the prompt in the show notes below, so if you want to try it for your own international travel or everyday actions.
So let's come back to our essential question. If something happened to you and you couldn't help yourself, could your family access the accounts needed to help you, both at home and while traveling?
After this episode and taking the 4 action steps that we've shared with you, hopefully your answer is yes. And you know exactly what to do to make it happen.
Next week, we're wrapping up our travel series with pet planning and small business considerations, the two things that can turn a travel hiccup into a complete disaster if no one's prepared to handle them.
Yeah, so true. So until next time, remember, every chapter you write today shapes your legacy tomorrow. Thanks for joining us here at Thoughtful Planning.